Wow. Here is another extremely late video. As I say every time I post a video that is literally over halfway through the month, I am very sorry. July has been absolutely chaotic for me. And just a very insane month so far. So it has taken me a long time to get around to posting this. And it also took me a really long time to get around to making it. So, I apologize in advance for the lateness. Okay, so I should start this off by saying that my themes for this month are red and blue, for obvious reasons that have already passed. And I did a lot of water-themed spreads. Because July has been so hectic, I didn't really have a lot of planning time for this. So it's kind of a modge podge of different different spreads that are vaguely water-themed. Except for my mind dump isn't. But anyway, this first spread, once I finish it, will be a little red boat. You can see I use my watercolors for the blue to try to get that like kind of patchy, streaky look, because I think that really fit with the like water vibes that I was going for, if that makes sense. I did also, you'll see this later, but when I was doing this, I realized that my blue wasn't dark enough for my white gel pen to show up, so I had to go back and add a bunch of darker blue tints in there. Which took a lot of time. This first spread was probably the most time-consuming, as per usual. I used one of my brush pens to color the boat bright red. I thought about adding more detail to the boat, but honestly, I couldn't figure out what exactly I would add. So I didn't. I just added that little inside spot, if that made any sense at all. Okay, so while I was waiting for the watercolor to dry on this, I took some time for my goals and events page. I'm sorry that my head is in the way. Oh, you can also see I did that wrong, so I went through with my white gel pen and tried to cover up the line, but it didn't work very well. But it looks fine once I put all the other markers and stuff on top. So, anyway, I did a fountain for this. Like I said, this is literally like a Mod Podge of mostly water-themed spreads. So I'm sorry that there's not the normal fluidity that there is, but this is just what I had time to plan this month. So anyway, I went in and filled in all the spots that were supposed to be water with my lighter blue watercolor, which I thought looked really nice. You can barely see it on the second one, but I promise that I did fill it in. And then I colored the fountain in gray because it seemed appropriate for like a stone-looking fountain. And so the fountain is actually just a divider between my two, my goals and my events section on this page. So the goals, if I remember correctly, will get plugged in on the left, and the events will be on the right. Okay, so here I tried to go in and draw the waves behind the boat with my white gel pen, but I realized that the watercolor really isn't dark enough for you to be able to see that. So I had to do a lot of layering, and you still can't really see it. So I had to go back in and add some darker blues to make that look better. See, after all of this layering, by the way, I had run over it 3 to 4 times by now. You can literally only barely make it out. And I wanted it to be like a bright white contrast, so I went in and filled in with a much darker blue. So I actually used the same watercolor for that, like the same swatch. I just was like heavier handed with it. And then I also just didn't color the darker blue over the white to try to make it stand out a little more. But you'll see in a minute that I still had to go over it again to make it as visible as I wanted it. And yeah, this first and second page were like just in incredibly time consuming for me. Like, they were really fun and I really enjoyed them, but they were just incredibly time consuming. Okay, and you can kind of see that I've mostly finished it, and I'll go in and add some extra details in a minute. Okay, so then I wanted the water that's like spewing from the top of the fountain to cover like the top part of the page and make it look like little headers. So I'm very pleased with the way that the goals and events page turned out. And I put some stuff in there to try to make sure that it didn't dry and mess up previous spreads, because it makes me really sad when like something I'm working on messes up something from a few months ago. And it would only show where I could see it until I do a flip through at the end of the year, which I think I will do an end of the year flip through, just to show all the spreads. That's my plan anyways. It's so insane to me that we're like over halfway through the year. Like, it's July now. Well, it's been July for a while, but like, we're just so far through the year, it's so confusing to me. I feel like 2021 just started, but oh well. Okay, so I went in and did my little month at a glance calendar that I always do, and plugged him in. I think this part turned out really cute this month. Like, I really like the layout and the style of it. And you can see me going back in to add more white waves because they were just not visible. And for those of you who are curious, that's lots and lots and lots of little tiny pen lines. It was difficult, but it was fun. I enjoyed putting it in. I also wrote July in my... Oh, I haven't yet. Okay, I just wrote a J, and I'll fill the rest in later in this video. As you can see, I kind of worked on these two spreads at the same time because I had to wait for watercolor to dry and stuff like that. So, yeah. Okay, so I put washi tape over my little calendar guy so that I could like do some red around it and incorporate red into this spread without getting red mixed in it. And I know I could have just been really careful with my water brush, but I didn't want to be careful, so I just put tape over it. And it actually worked pretty well. If you guys are doing this, well, one, washi tape is actually kind of nice for that particular type of thing because it doesn't stick super well, which is sort of not a benefit, but it is sort of a benefit in this case because it doesn't stick well enough to rip the page when I pull it back up, which is nice. Yeah, so you guys can see I just kind of went in and put some little red squiggles around it. Oh, goodness, it got really dyed right there for just a second. Okay, good. I went and fixed it. That makes me feel better. And then I wrote July in this, like, careful kind of print. I don't know how well you guys can read that. Okay, I can't read that well, but my vision's really bad, so I'm just going to hope that you guys can see that that says July. If not, just know in your heart of hearts. Okay, and then I went back and ripped up the washi tape, and you can see it, like, actually did cover most of the spots. There's some spots where it didn't cover so great, but it got most of them. And that makes for a very convenient little month at a glance guy for me. And then I went in with the fine point end of my brush pen and, like, wrote in all the days of the month. Okay, so this is going to be my habit tracker spread, which is my favorite spread this month. Okay, so I've significantly cut down on the habits because I was just so bad at performing them, and especially with everything going on in July, I just needed a break from the chaos. So, I'm getting a lot better at keeping up with these now, which is good. Anyway, what you see me doing now is a piece of washi tape with holes punched in it, and I literally just put it down so I could make little blue bubbles around the edges of my little calendars that I use for my habit tracker. And it looks very cute in my personal opinion. And I should have dried those before I took the washi tape away, but that's fine. And I kind of learned from this as I went on. Like, I figured out which parts worked and which parts didn't. But those washi tape thingies, I'm really tired. Those washi tape thingies have little holes punched in them, and then I just painted blue over them, and they were very fun to do. I mostly enjoyed the punching holes part because it just was very satisfying. Also, I couldn't get the washi tape to hold still for that, so I literally put it on a sticky note and then punched holes like that. Like, in the washi tape and the sticky note at the same time. And you can see my little hole punch right there on the side of the screen because I didn't quite move it out of the filming area, which I should have done, but that's okay. And I used the same color of blue for these that I did for the background water for the boat. Oh yeah, so I wanted all these little like blue circles to look like bubbles. And then I went in once I finished with this and painted in some big bubbles. So hopefully you will see that and see all the time I put into that. This spread took me a really long time. Like, for whatever reason, doing it just like was time consuming. It was also time consuming to get my hands on the hole punch because I couldn't find it and I didn't know where my mother had left it. I did eventually find it, as evidenced by this video, but it did take a while. And yeah, so halfway through this, I also had to switch. Like, I had to make a new washi tape strip because my old one was getting kind of logged down with color, and so it wasn't making good circles anymore. So I had to go get a new one, and so then the circles were no longer evenly spaced, which kind of sucked, but oh well. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see me kind of making a new one now. Well, you could see me a second ago, but then I took it off the camera. Anyway, what else about this spread? Oh yeah, it's like bubble themed. I cut it down to 4 habits to give myself a break, and I'm still not honestly keeping up with most of these habits. I can tell you that because it's July 18th, and I'm just now getting around to recording this voiceover. Bad me. I need to stop making so many late videos. Late videos are evil. Okay. Anyway. Better late than never, I suppose. You all know how I do habit trackers by now, so like I went in and wrote in all the days of the month, like just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 31. And then so when I'm like throughout the course of the month, I'll fill these in with a red gel pen or whatever red pen I'm using that week because I have different pens for different weeks, but that's actually not that important. What is important is that I'm about to start painting the bubbles, and I had so much fun painting the bubbles. Like, I literally just painted massive circles. It was really fun. I felt like they looked really cute, and like they just added something fun to the spread. Guys, why am I so bad about holding my bullet journal diagonal and then you can't see where it is? That's ridiculous of me. Stop doing that, Claire. Okay, I won't do that in August. Speaking of August, I have no spread ideas. I tried to sketch some today, and I was just out of ideas. So, if anyone has any ideas, that would be amazing. Oh, okay, so with the bubbles, once I finished the light blue part, I went back in and added in the dark blue highlights. And then I just kind of like, yeah, that's what the bubbles look like. Okay. Disclaimer, my mind dump, it's not water themed, sorry. But I just couldn't find a good way to incorporate it into water themedness, so it's not water themed. It has red and blue stars, for obvious reasons. And it was really fun to do. It was also one of the, like, it wasn't too time consuming, which is nice. Because there was a lot of time-consuming stuff happening due to the fact that I was using watercolors. And watercolors take forever to dry. Even though I do love using them in my journal, they're just really, really annoying sometimes. Okay, so I went in, they all have red and blue on them now, and then so I started to do that with a silver marker, a Sharpie, I think, but my page was not having the Sharpie ink, so I went in and did it with a water marker instead. And just wrote mind dump in those stars. Okay, this next part was a train wreck, and it ruined some of the stuff behind it. Is what you should know about it before I get started. See how I'm going in and like dripping water on that? Yeah, so the watercolor, or the marker I meant, actually leaked through about 2 pages back. So it leaked through onto my mind dump and onto my habit tracker. My habit tracker is still usable and my mind dump is still usable too, but it was really annoying to have to deal with that. And the red one did it too, even though I haven't done the red one yet. Also, if you haven't, when I finish this quote, first of all, this is a quote from Come From Away, which is a musical. If you haven't listened to it, you should, because it's really good. But it says, "To the ones we've lost, you're never truly gone." And yeah, see, that's all the damage that it did. And I was very upset about that. But I just kind of put a paper towel in between it and hoped for the best. This is like a full 3 days later because it was taking forever to dry, and then I had to work a bunch, so I wasn't home very often. So it was really time consuming to do. I wanted my weekly spreads this month to be something I could throw together really fast because I knew I wasn't going to be home very much. So it's a 1-pager, and it's some really simple washi tape layouts that I really like. And I mostly use these like on summer and stuff when I won't have that many tasks to do per day. Okay, well, in a minute, it's going to be the flip through. I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, I am sorry for the lateness. Be sure to comment any ideas for August.